Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going down, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, doing well. Went for a nice float session today.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
chill. We had a meeting early, 5 a.m. my time. It's part of what goes on running an international movement. And you look just so blissfully relaxed.
not really.
Oh, yeah. You're about to fall asleep.
Yeah, I was super chilled. Yeah, it was
This-
nice,
that is
nice.
cool.
Yeah, I was getting changed afterwards, and you just don't realize, do you, like what you have going on? I'm like, okay, it's Wednesday. I've just been for a float. Sunday had a massage after coming out of the mountains for a couple of days. I'm doing that. I'm loving working with the guys, loving what we're building, enjoying being back in the gym. I was like, wow, life's really fucking good right now. And but you just don't realize, this morning waking up for the float, driving there, drinking a bit of coffee, and in do mode, kind of listening to voxers and listening to audiobooks and sharing ideas and things like that. You just don't realize it's easy for it all to get wrapped up in one until you
Yeah.
take that moment to just stop and be like, wow, cool.
Beautiful thing, man. You're living the dream. Sometimes you forget. It's one of those things. It's almost like weight loss, right? So when someone's on a weight loss journey, they're like, I'm not making any progress. And they run into somebody at the grocery store, the supermarket, or whatever that they haven't seen in 6 months or a year. And they're like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. And it's because
Mm-hmm.
they see themselves in the mirror every single day. They don't notice those micro changes. And you add those on, right? Day after day after day, that consistency becomes reality. And when you're living the dream, living the lifestyle of Tim Matthews, the powerful man himself, uh, on a day-to-day basis, sometimes you forget, you know, the average life of what it could be like.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen a few people in the new gym I'm going to, which is actually kind of like next to the old gym. So there's people from the old gym. I've not seen them because of lockdown and things. Oh, what are you up to? And the first thing I said, I'm moving on the 28th. And I just feel so excited to be sharing that. It just feels so great to be sharing that news. And they're like, wow, you're living the dream. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm not living, might not be living the dream, but I'm living my dream. It's awesome. Very grateful.
Good, good. Well, Tim, I have an interesting topic today that I want to throw on the table here, and you and I haven't discussed this at all. But I was talking to one of the guys that's in the Brotherhood, and we were talking about biology, right? And so I'm not going to get into the science of it, but one of the ways that we evolved as humans is, we came up with a bigger brain, right? Some animals evolved to have claws and night vision, that can fly and not be heard, like they don't make a sound. So we have a bigger brain. I think sometimes we forget that biology often runs the show for us, though. So when biology kicks in, right, the brain is bypassed. So what I mean by that, and I'll give you an analogy. And I was thinking about how I was going to kick this conversation off, and I won't use you and Amelia because I don't want to get you in trouble. So I'll use Aaron and I, right? So I ran multiple companies in Santa Barbara, and one of the companies I ran was a very private fitness studio, right? Wellness studio, but very private, catered to some very successful people and also very attractive people, right? Southern California, etc. And of all those women that came through the facility, right, and that I either dated or didn't date, right, a lot of them checked the boxes of what would be a great woman, right? You check down. However, why was it that when Aaron came by, all of a sudden I was really interested, right? What was the difference there? And the idea is that we're biologically predisposed to do certain things, certain partners, certain things that we want to do. Could be certain mechanisms within our body. So the same thing can happen with the way we pick our partners or our partner's needs. So let me set us another scene for you, right? If I can. So imagine that you and I are having breakfast. We're having breakfast, we're chatting it up. Then we decide to part ways. As you leave, you walk around the corner of the restaurant and the door is open, right? In the kitchen. There's no one there, but yet the smell of cinnamon rolls comes out at you. and you can just smell, ooh, so savory. And this is such an amazing bakery. And they're laying right there in front of the door, cooling off. But we just had a really satisfying meal, great conversation. You just notice it briefly and you just keep walking on, right? But take it back a little bit different, right? You never take a cinnamon roll because it would be morally wrong. You just wouldn't do it. But if you were walking by there and we hadn't had breakfast, you're really hungry, your kids are starving at home, Amelia's starving, maybe there's a famine in the UK, I don't know. But if you had children, right, they're starving, and you see those cinnamon rolls, you start to justify grabbing a cinnamon roll. You start saying to yourself in your brain, well, there's 100 cinnamon rolls here, surely 3 of them won't matter. Or, it's more immoral for me not to feed my children or my wife or what have you. So you grab a cinnamon roll because you're starving. And it's been seen throughout history where there's so many times where in famines and other parts of history where people are just really, really hungry, that they'll do terrible things and justify them with rationalization on why they're doing it. Right. I know you know where I'm going with this because you've seen this. And so they'll even kill each other over food, right? The biological need for food and the craving for food is so strong that then they'll justify what their actions are. Now, another biological need for women and for men, they're different, but for women in general, one biological need is the need to feel wanted, desired, sexy, to have sex. And then in relationships, this happens to men too, but I'm going to talk about the woman's side of it here because obviously guys are on the receiving end of this a lot of times. When the relationship isn't working out, the wife or the woman or whoever's involved, just call it the wife for this tale, she starts to starve internally. She starts to crave touch, desire, attention, really, at a biological level. It's pre-wired within her, right? To get this. We're humans, we're very social animals naturally, we're pack animals. So while she's not getting this, she starts to look elsewhere. Now, sometimes it's her girlfriends, it's her sister, it's her mom, and she starts craving that attention from her. Or maybe it's Instagram. She starts posting things on that. But for a lot of women, it goes a step further. It goes into the emotional affair, the physical affair, and the justifications of why they're able to do this and lie to their husbands or what have you are very similar to the justifications of the man who steals the cinnamon rolls to feed his family. The biology happens first, then the justifications and rationalizations come in afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? There's a joke that Amelia, I think I've said this before, but there's a joke that Amelia and our intimacy coach have together. It's like, Tim, if you want to have sex on Saturday, it starts on Monday. Point being is it feeds into the needs that must be there for a woman. Well, they're there anyway, right? I was going to say the needs that must be there to want to have sex, which is kind of a different point. But the point I'm making is, yeah, for sure. And most of our guys get it the wrong way around, right? They think that the way to provide the main need that the women have is to be provided for financially, right? Remember that post that we put in the Facebook group a few months ago? Hey, what rank these and what you think is the order of priority of what women want. I think it was safety and a few other things, right? But a lot of guys put safety last. I didn't really rank it as being important. Emotional safety, that is. But, what we know to be true is that for women, the emotional safety, which feeds the emotional, they go hand in hand, right? Meeting of the emotional needs, is the number one. And as guys, the conundrum they often face is, hey, the guy I spoke with yesterday runs a very successful side business, as well as managing a $1.2 billion project for a large bank. Point being is, he's ticking all the boxes financially in the way he's providing, but he's confused as to, well, why does she not bother with me? Why does she not want to have sex with me? Why does she not want to? And he sees her going out and getting dressed up and all those other things, but it's because he's focusing on the wrong thing and missing out this biological need that the women crave. And as a result, there's just distance between them both and frustration as well.
Yeah. Well, it's so true. And we look at this and, and I'm not giving the women a rational way out, right? Oh, you cheated and therefore it's okay because it's biological. No, no, no. That's not happening, right? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is to us guys is to look at this, right? Your wife may love you, but she may start to rationalize when you're in a desert of a sexual marriage, right? It's so dry in the bedroom, it's dry everywhere else. These are warning signs you want to start looking at. It's kind of the idea where the guy turns the corner, his wife's on her phone, and as soon as he turns the corner, she drops the phone, right? She turns it around, puts it down very quickly, and is very kind of like, uh oh, he's here kind of attitude. Guys, it's a warning sign. There's something there. Or when your wife's dressing up and going out without you, but not dressing up with you, it's a warning sign. There's things you want to start looking for. And even if your wife is the most amazing, nice person you've ever met, if these signs start to come out, she could very well just be rationalizing the legitimacy of her actions. Yeah, I'm talking to Tony, who I was friends in high school with on Facebook. And it's easy for Tony, right? This made up guy. Sorry, the Tonys out there. This made up guy, to sound very debonair on, a chat, right? She's not seeing him leave his underwear on the ground and all this other crap. And so he just starts to give her attention, which is easy to do in a month or two or three or four. And next thing you know, she's starting to get her needs met by Tony online on Instagram or wherever else it is. And that's when emotional affairs start to occur and that easily turn into justifications. Well, if I fly to go see Tony, then I'm justified. You only live once, or whatever romantic chick flick talks about discovering yourself, and part of that discovering yourself is getting laid by another guy. And these happen all too often. What really comes in here, I think, that really helps is when you look at the Triad of Connection, right? When you look at the different elements, especially the leadership element of the Triad of Connection, when we apply that, that really mitigates this issue that can come up for so many guys.
Yeah. And it's as you were talking there, the idea that came to mind, I think for men and women, right? I think both sexes, there is a justification and an ignorance. I think that there's a lot of little things, kind of like, if you put a frog in kind of a gruesome analogy, but put a frog in water and slowly let it boil over, it doesn't realize it stays in, right? It doesn't hop out before the water gets too hot to kill it. Whereas if you drop it in a pan of boiling water, it jumps back out. I think it's the same thing that leads to this and creates this situation for a lot of men and women. They ignore the little checking of the Facebook profile of the other guy or the other woman, or the little things that they're doing. They just think they're tiny things that don't really mean anything. Brush them under the rug, keep brushing them under the rug before it's turned into a bigger thing that then they're justifying. And I think you're right. By default, the leadership within the Triad of Connection, which, guys, if you don't know, imagine a triangle, right? The Triad of Connection, on the base, you've got leadership, which is the live as a king system. Right hand side, you have intimacy, which is the hidden motives technique. And the left hand side, you have the clean slate method, which is communication. And just like anything, right? All these sides hold one another up. If you take away leadership, well, it'd collapse. If you took away intimacy, again, it'd collapse. So yeah, back to your point. I mean, the leadership portion of this, it does mitigate it, right? Because by default, when you are let's just use the live as a king system, you're going to be doing certain things. You're going to be operating a particular way, which by default, you're going to have the awareness to be meeting your wife's emotional needs. And I think as well, Doug, a lot of the time for the guys that come to us anyway, part of the reason why they are not meeting the emotional needs of the wife, they're not meeting their own emotional needs either. So it's just so far off their radar to even think that way because they're so used to putting their needs last. I'm just going to show up in business and I'm just going to hustle hard. I'm going to work harder and I'm going to pour a cocktail. I'm going to let my health go and I'm going to stay up late and I'm going to, they just put their needs last.
Well, I've been there.
Yeah, we all have, right? And by default, you're not going to be meeting your wife's emotional needs in that place. You're just not. So, again, back to that point of leadership. Yeah, when you start using the live as a king system, and you start to, instead of trying to pour from a cup that's already empty, you can start to pour from a cup, but from the overflow. The people around you start to get the best of you instead of the rest of you. And then, meeting the needs emotionally are not only easy, but it also drives your wife in, right? Because part of the live as a king system is it creates mystery between you two, which, creates, which is part of the needs as well, creates desire as well. So I'm curious, how are you seeing it play out the same way with how you think leadership mitigates a lot of this?
Yeah, I think it mitigates a lot of it. And I think also when you're looking at the whole Triad of Connection, it completely mitigates this because you're not only leading your wife and your family and yourself, right? So go opposite way, right? Self, family, wife, or self, wife, family. You're leading in that direction. You have a lot better protocol. So one of the first things, I had as you know, I had a call with a couple of the guys that had recently just joined. It was a fantastic call. These guys, Tim, are amazing. All right. Amazing men.
I know.
I know. Super great guys. But they were all similar issues that were going on. And a lot of it was the lack of leadership. And it wasn't that they weren't leaders, because they were all three natural leaders. It was the fact that they had fallen into a trap where they were trying so hard, because they are good guys. They're trying so hard to meet their wife's needs and save her and other people around them, that they were letting their needs go. At detriment. So, guys, listen to this. You guys listening, does this sound familiar? All right. So you come home, your wife's fretting. She's got a long day and she's complaining about all the things that need to be done at the house. There's just too much to be done. Oh, the dishes aren't done. The house isn't kept right. The kids, this, that, and the other. And I got to get ready for the kids. And it's just so stressful. Maybe she cries a little bit because she's just so overwhelmed. And so what do we do as guys? Maybe we had a night planned where we were going to go out with our friends or do something else. But instead, we go ahead and say, babe, why don't you sit down and I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to cook dinner. I'm going to take care of the kids. And that starts happening day after day after day because your wife's so overwhelmed. Her checklist is so long. You got the Christmas holiday, you got this holiday, maybe it's Hanukkah for you or whatever. And so what happens, that happens once, twice, months. And we're trying so hard to keep the harmony in the home and our wife happy because we're the provider, because otherwise we're not good enough. Then there's nothing left of us. And guess what? We friggin' explode. We explode. We start yelling. We're pissed. What else how could you expect me to do more? Don't you see all the things I'm doing? This is ridiculous, and you're not even getting laid, right? That's the worst friggin' part. You're not getting laid. You're not even having connection in your marriage. You're just a worker bee. You're providing an income, you're a paycheck, and you come home and you're a maid and a chef and a childcare worker, not a husband, not a lover. And Tim, I'm telling you, like 99% of men out there can relate to it, as you know, because that's what we cure. I mean, that's really one of the things that we cure is we help guys get rid of all of that. And the truth is that's what the women want, right? Is the guys not to do that. They don't want the yes man. They don't want they might think so on the surface, like, yeah, cool, I got a maid. Cool, yeah, I got someone to take care of my kids and provide money. That's great. And then they're going to go find the other guy to fulfill the other needs.
It's interesting. I got back from last night. I worked a little bit later last night. I took a call about 9 p.m. UK time. Was it that? Yeah. Oh, that was it. So I got dinner for Amelia and I just prior to that because I was going to be working late. But anyway, I'd been out, got dinner, came back, and I'd been working all day, and I'd had a few other things on, and obviously been in the mountains at the weekend. And anyway, to paint the scene, for the previous 3 weeks, Amelia has been saying to me, "Oh, so you're going to leave us again on the weekend? Oh, so you're going to leave us again at the weekend? Oh, so you're going to leave us again at the weekend?" And I have literally been taking off, whether it's on a Friday to go into the mountains or for the summit that we did, or then back to the mountains. Anyway, fast forward to yesterday, bring dinner back, walk in, and she looks at me, she goes, "Oh, I really love you." And I'm like, "Oh, nice. Love you too." And she said a few other things as well. But point being is, on paper, if you looked at it on paper, you might be calling me a bit of a selfish asshole for these past 3 weeks. But at the same time, I've had pockets where I've been making sure that I've been doing things that have been important to her. Like, when she wakes up 9:15 in the morning, we've been sitting and having a coffee together, or a drink together before we both work out. Anyways, so I've made sure that's stayed. So there's still been what's important to her. But yeah, I think if I would have appeased her and, maybe not gone on and done these trips or done these things that are important to me, or maybe come back from these things and completely disregarded her needs, then it may have been different. But I was kind of taken aback, to be honest. I was a bit surprised when she said that last night, because I was thinking I might have been a little bit behind the game. But clearly not. Clearly I'm doing something right.
Well, that's a great thing. I mean, one of the things I always admired about you and Amelia is you guys work on your relationship before there's problems, right? And so, guys listening to this, you may be like, yeah, things are okay. Well, first of all, okay isn't good enough, in my opinion. But also, it's something you always want to be working on before there's problems, right? Fix things before there's issues, even though it's not really fixing. It's something to work on. So, Tim, what's a couple things we can leave these guys with, action steps that they can come through with?
I think the first thing is first thing is always to take stock. Like, where are you today, right? I'm very big on that. Understanding where you are today. So pay attention to the signs. What's actually going on around you? Is your wife putting her mobile phone down in a rush when you walk into the room? What are the signs, basically, that she's either getting her emotional needs met elsewhere, be it through binge watching Netflix or social media or her girlfriends, or maybe even you might start to feel like it's another guy because her behavior's changed. So what's going on there? But the second thing would be to take responsibility. Okay, well, now how can I influence this? And the first thing you get to do there is look at yourself, because the reality is you cannot, and that's what these guys were doing, by the way, Doug, the guys that joined, they were trying to meet their wife's needs emotionally without meeting any of their own needs first. So it kind of came across as being needy and desperate to a degree, which pushed the wife further away. So the first thing before you can meet your wife's needs, you've got to make sure you're meeting your own needs. And that doesn't mean being selfish. It can be super simple as starting to work out a few times a week. It could be as simple as that. Starting to journal once a day. Whatever. It could be something super small. It just gives you that space to start to feel like your cup is being filled again. And then from that place, you can start to look at meeting your wife's needs emotionally. And again, it depends how you go about doing that. The hidden motives technique would be the easiest way. I think you could start to do that. We've recorded a podcast on that. My advice would be to go back to that podcast. Listen to that. We've recorded podcasts on the Live as a King system. Go back, listen to that as well. If you want more specifics on the whole inside out protocol. But yeah, that'd be the three things that I'd be recommending.
And those are great three things. And guys, the key is always to take action on what Tim's talking about here. Don't just listen to this and do so. And gentlemen, if this is your first time joining us on the Powerful Man Show, go back and listen to the previous episodes. Tim and I have spent a lot of time putting those up there, and we keep them up there to help guys because we get such great feedback. Just depending on where you are in your journey, you can go through. And also, if you've listened to us before, you've been here for a little while, do us a favor and leave us a review. I think we have 55 five-star reviews, Tim. I checked yesterday, which we're so grateful for. We want you guys to leave an authentic review, so we appreciate that. It makes me feel good. We also know tens of thousands of you download and listen to this, so we'd love to get that up there. My goal, of course, is to get that up there, reviews, well over 100, so other men just like you can find us. It's not only selfish, but the sense that I really want other men to have the opportunity that you have, right? The opportunity to have meaningful conversations with Tim and I, and to be able to improve, their self, their health, their wealth, their relationships, and their business. So, gentlemen, that's all for us. Appreciate you guys leaving a review, and we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.